Hey, Taylor. Kathy, did you see my text message?
Yes, I can. I saw your text message, but my phone is acting up, so I couldn't respond. But I was already planning on doing a moment of silence for Nancy. You wanted to say a couple words,
I would like to, please.
so there'll be a lot of people that want to say a few words, but the words should be concise, if you know what I mean. Concise,
Mm-hmm.
concise.
Listen, I've known Nancy a long time. I will be as concise as I can.
I've known Nancy for a long time,
Mhm.
also. Yeah, that's why Tammy wants to speak too. I'm assuming. Yeah, I don't care who wants. I'm not going to stop anybody from saying things. I just don't want it to be an hour-long dissertation on her career, because her career was extensive and should be honored. But hi, how are you? I, yes, I have this one. Yes. 1 minute to go. Norm, don't fall.
I almost did.
I know. Do not
I
fall.
saw that, huh?
I did. Hello. Claire, you're saying only good things about the LIHEAP. Thank you. Thank you.
So we don't have a lot. We don't have a lot of people. There should be.
Good morning, everyone. Hey, Billy Mo. Good morning, everybody. Morning, Mitch.
All righty. Good morning, everybody. If we could all take our seats, please. Commissioner, you can sit up here if you want to, because you're the first person, but we are going to have a little bit of a conversation first. Madam Administrator, if you would just let me know when we are there. We are there. Very good. So we're going to call this public hearing together for the FFY 27 LIHEAP Plan of Appropriations, Energy and Technology and Human Services. There are people still wielding their way in. We had a death amongst the community of someone who was a lieutenant governor for 8 years and had a state secretary of the state. Yes, am I right? Now I'm judging myself. Anyways, many people would like to say a couple of words, and there's not enough words in the dictionary for us to say everything that Lieutenant Governor Wyman did. So we're going to have people say a couple of words and move on from that. And I was going to call for a moment of silence, so we will have a moment of silence right after the words that people would like to say. Make sure everybody puts your computer on mute. And so we will do the moment of silence after people speak. And there are two people those district the lieutenant governor lived in. And I will start with Senator Gordon. Senator?
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I just want to say my condolences to Nancy Wyman's husband, her children, her family, and the community. She was a constituent of mine in Tallinn. Remarkable public service career, and I can say every time I had an opportunity to meet her, even before I was a state senator, a very, very nice woman who cared very deeply for Connecticut, and she certainly will be missed. Thank you.
Representative Nuccio.
Thank you. As you mentioned, everybody's going to talk about Nancy's political career. When I woke up this morning and saw that, I've known Nancy Wyman for a long time. I went to school with her daughters, Meryl and Stacy. My daughters played soccer with her grandchildren. Nancy Wyman actually encouraged me to run and used to joke and say that she would contribute to my campaign because she knew I was doing it for the right reasons. I never held her to that, but I did take every opportunity that I could publicly to tease her that I never did see her contribution. But I've known Nancy for a really long time. I've known her children for a very long time, her grandchildren for a very long time, and this is a major loss for our community. And I would just like to personally say to Stacy and Meryl, I am so very sorry for your loss, and to Mike, who was our registrar of voters for years. I had so much comfort in knowing that our elections were great with Mike and Len there, and this is such a massive loss for us. So I would just really like to extend my condolences to Mike and Meryl and Stacy and all of her grandchildren.
Thank you. Senator Kushner.
I think I first met Nancy, our lieutenant governor, but I knew her very well. I met her at a UAW retreat, a political retreat in probably 1989. And so I got to see Nancy at her best, really having an enormously good time at this retreat, and also being one of our leaders. My grandkids and my kids live in Vernon, so of course we would see Nancy at the grocery store still in high heels. She was just an amazing friend. I would say that she was part of the UAW family. The auto workers were major supporters of Nancy's, and she spent a lot of time in our offices and with us, and shared our political vision for the state of Connecticut. And so I can't even tell you the loss that I feel personally. She was a friend. She was the first person when I ran into her in the concourse when I was still the director of the UAW. She said, "I heard you're running for state senate," and I hadn't heard that yet. So it came as a great shock to me. But it was a rumor that she and others started, and it worked, obviously. But she was just an incredible human being with a big heart and a lot of love, and she will be very much missed by me and all of the UAW members and everyone who knew her.
Senator Needleman.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. It was really a shock. I didn't know, and I still don't know any of the details, but like everyone has said, she made everyone feel like they were special, that you were her friend, and most of us were. The high heels were always the signature coming to every event. In the woods, anywhere, she would wear high heels, but she was always a caring, loving person. Her years as the Senate president, I heard the Senate was run more like a mahjong game. It was a little bit less formal, but she was just a great lady and a great humanitarian and somebody who gave her life to public service. So I feel very sad at this moment. Thank you.
Representative Johnson.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. I just want to send my condolences to the family of Nancy Wyman and say what a wonderful person she was to work with. She always was in the boombox parade in her high heels, whether she was the comptroller or the lieutenant governor. People really appreciated her. She worked with me on helping create the Office of Health Strategy when we found that the Wyndham Hospital got rid of its ICU. So I was incredibly grateful to her for her amazing work, understanding government the way she did. And it's a tremendous loss, and I feel very sad. Thank you so much, Madam Chair.
Representative Belinsky.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I first met Nancy back in 2000, late 2011, and I too express my deepest condolences to the family and to the greater community, because she was just a magnificent human being. politics aside, her accomplishments are well recorded. But to me, Nancy Wyman welcomed me as a freshman into the Capitol at a very, very, very trying time. I entered, for those that don't know this, I entered weeks after the terrible tragedies in Sandy Hook, and Nancy was perhaps the most outwardly welcoming and nurturing person that I knew. She was kind to me from the second we met, and she will be missed because she's just a wonderful human being. So it's a big loss for everybody. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Senator Berthel.
Good morning, Senator Austin. Thank you for recognizing me. Madam Chair, I had the pleasure of coming up into the Senate in the last 2 years of the Malloy-Wyman administration. And despite the fact that that Nancy and I, the Lieutenant Governor and I, were politically opposite on a lot of things, she was so embracing and caring and fun to be around in the Senate chamber. And I'll very quickly share a very quick story that every legislator on this call can relate to. We were into about 3 o'clock in the morning one night on a debate on something I don't even remember. And Nancy and I would text each other frequently. She shared her cell phone with everyone because she wanted to be able to reach out. And I said, would you like me to go? I asked her if she would like me to go and pull the fire alarm. And she said yes, and then quickly looked off from the dais and shook her head and said no to me. And then she said, but it's not the Academy Awards. No one gets a trophy at the end. And I'll miss her dearly, as we all will. She was an amazing part of Connecticut's political history. And beyond any of that, she was just an endearing and lovely person to spend time with. May she rest in peace. Thank you.
Senator Lesser. Senator Lesser.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. And I'm thinking back and just reminiscing about my friend, my mentor, Nancy Wyman. She, among trying to not repeat all of the things that my colleagues have said, all of which are correct. I'm remembering her big heart, but also she was one of the funniest people I've ever met. She was all of our Jewish grandmothers, or second or third Jewish grandmothers, and was in so many ways the life of this building, of our world. And when Dan Malloy ran for governor, he was smart and well respected, but he was also a bit of a curmudgeon and wasn't loved. And when Nancy agreed to step down as state comptroller to serve, to join his ticket, it really changed the dynamic of the race, because people really did love Nancy Wyman and wanted to be, and her embrace of him lifted him up. And I think many people at the time have thought that that was really what made him governor. As a state representative, she was incredibly effective. She took the lead in codifying Roe v. Wade at a time when that seemed unnecessary, perhaps, and in retrospect was really prescient. As comptroller and as lieutenant governor, she made healthcare and expanding healthcare her core issue, and she was uniquely effective at moving Connecticut forward and implementing the Affordable Care Act, but at making sure that Connecticut was doing all we can to ensure that healthcare is a right and not a privilege for the wealthy or the well-connected. And as one of many of her proteges, I'm just very grateful for her work there, for her incredible accomplishments, and I'm going to miss her personally, and I know many of us are. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Representative Gresco.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to echo everyone's sentiment, she was the first person that saw me with a deer in the headlights look up here in 2005, reached out to me, and we've been friends ever since, and I would suggest that we all wear high heels to their services. Thank you.
Senator Marks.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just what everybody else has said. I met Nancy when I was a city councilor here in New London and DTC chair. And, you know, she made everybody in the party feel so special. Way back, she made every single Board of Education member feel so special. And she was so sassy and so funny and loved to talk about her grandchildren and her family, which is what so many of us love to do. And she was just such a real human. Sean. And she did set my son. She did set a mean precedent with those heels, which I will never match. I won't even pretend to try. But she was a real person. And like my heart is really sad, and I hope she didn't suffer. And I hope her family knows that everything all of us are saying, we really mean every single bit of it. And our hearts are all a little empty today.
I'm sorry, Representative Piscopo.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I served with Nancy when I first got elected. I think she was chairwoman of the Education Committee, and my sister worked on that staff. So they got very close. My sister just loved her. She very much admired her. And for years after that, she always asked, "How's your sister doing?" She genuinely wanted to know how my sister was doing, and she was always very interested in her and her family. So I just thought the world of her. Senator Marks mentioned the heels. I walked in one long parade with her in Burlington, and I knew better than to. I had sensible shoes on. I knew better than to complain that I was getting tired, because she walked the entire parade with those heels on. And but I thought the world of her. She was just a good woman, and gonna miss her, and sympathy to the family.
Thank you. Representative Walker.
Yep. Thank you, Madam Chair. And to say that Nancy was someone whose shoulders were what many of our women in the legislature stood on, it's just an understatement. She was an amazing woman. She was a leader. She was a supporter. She was someone who really gave you the support and the structure for you to be able to thrive as a legislator. So we are truly going to miss her, and God bless her. Thank you.
Anybody else that's here? Anybody else online? I'm going to wrap it up with I was just an admirer of Nancy Wyman for all that she did for the state of Connecticut, for women in government, for all of the constituents. And by the way, everybody's talking about heels. 4-inch heels are not just your ordinary heel. So let's be a little bit realistic. And when I saw her wearing those red heels, walking a mile on a parade down a dirt road, she was just something to amplify. And so I'm going to ask everybody for a moment of silence. Would you all please stand for a moment of silence for Lieutenant Governor Nancy Wyman? Thank you very much. Nancy, we loved you. I'm not certain if I opened the public hearing, but the public hearing for the LIHEAP plan for federal fiscal year 27 is now open for appropriations, energy and technology, and human services. The commissioner is up first. Commissioner Barton Reeves, the floor is yours. It's right there. The slides are up.
Thank you very much. Good morning. And if you would just give me a moment of privilege too, Senator Austin, I do want to, on behalf of our agency, extend our deepest condolences to the Lieutenant Governor's, former Lieutenant Governor's family. And I will just say personally that I am in public service as a woman because of the example that she set. So I will always be deeply grateful to her. So thank you. So Chairs Austin, Walker, Gilchrist, Lesser, Needleman, and Steinberg, and Vice Chairs Hartley, Kushner, Exum, Paris, Comey, Mayor Sanchez, and Mahoney, ranking members and distinguished members of the Appropriations Committee, Human Services, and Energy and Technologies Committee. Thank you for giving us at DSS the opportunity to be here before you today to present the FY 2027 Low Income Home Energy Assistance Program, also known as LIHEAP Allocation Plan. We do have a very short presentation. I am here this morning with many of our staff, including Deputy Commissioner Peter Hadler, who is here to my left. And we will walk through the presentation, and then we are prepared to answer many of the questions we believe that you will have, and even some that you might not. We'll come back and answer those as well. Next slide, please. Next slide. Thank you. Just as a summary, we do know that LIHEAP's purpose really is to provide assistance to low-income families and low-income households that spend a disproportionate share of their income on heating, especially in the very cold winters here in Connecticut. We do target those households that have low income, again, those that have a high home energy burden, and there are specific populations that we support, including vulnerable populations, which you see identified there, those that are elderly, have a disability, children under 6, and with the lowest income households really receiving the larger share of support. In order to be eligible for this program, you do have to have an income that is at the maximum 60% of the state median income, and in this state, that's about $94,000 for a family of 4. We offer different levels of benefit. Those include the basic benefit, rental assistance, so for those that receive their heating within their rent, there is a proportion of benefit that they can receive, and what we call a crisis assistance benefit, which I'll get into later, which is a benefit above the basic benefit that we now have about 3 rounds of crisis benefit built into our proposal, as we did last year. We do have 9 partners, 9 community action agencies, along with local governments, human services agencies, and of course our indispensable home energy providers that help us implement the LIHEAP program. Next slide, please. So to provide some funding history, we do add a year to this column. You'll see some columns drop off when we're back next year, but for now, we're offering the history from 2021 to our projected budget for the coming year allocation plan. In the last years, you can see there had been a bit of an increase in our LIHEAP block grant. We do imagine that this grant will remain flat as it has, expecting $86 million in last year and the same grant amount in this year. We do always hold carry forward, and we do this because of the sometimes unpredictable nature of the ways in which LIHEAP can be funded in the beginning of the program in each program year. We found that this provides us with a degree of security to be able to begin the program even before our federal funds arrive. And you can see here that last year we held back about 8.1, and this year we'll hold back about 7.5. We almost ran out of carry forward last year as we waited for our allocation to come in. That's how important the carry forward is. We have some small dollars in refunds. What we don't have this year is any more Infrastructure Act dollars, essentially ARPA dollars. So you'll see that our allocation from 2026 has gone, it was 98 million, almost 99, and this year we're down to 94,211,537. We do think that we will support maybe 3% more households in this year. So you can see our caseload has grown from 84,000 to about 94,000. That was our estimate last year, and it's our projected estimate this year. We always just add a bit of a cushion to the number of households that we think that we will provide services and supports to through our partners, and then we true that up at the end of the year. Next slide, please. So some of these points I've already reviewed, but I'll go through just a few of them again. As I mentioned, our budget does assume level funding and a 3% growth. We do have, and we'll see on the next slide, an increase in the basic benefit amount, the crisis assistance benefit for our deliverable fuel households, and a bit of an increase in our rental assistance benefits. We kept funding level for our heating system repair and replacement. And my colleague, the commissioner from DEEP, is available to answer questions with respect to the request that we're not spending LIHEAP dollars this year on weatherization, but those households can continue to access the weatherization program through DEEP. It's just there are no LIHEAP dollars associated with that this year. We have increased the use of our vendor portal and its functionality with online enrollment. We've expanded our categorical income eligibility so that we can include veterans with means-tested benefits. And we've also adjusted our margin over rack fixed rate from 50 cents to 55 because we know that right now the energy markets are quite volatile, and this is one of our attempts to manage that. The discount over retail remains at 35 cents per gallon. So the next slide is the one, if you don't mind, sorry, next slide, please, thank you. The next slide is the one I think that people have the most interest in, which is really, Commissioner, how much are you giving people? And so this is the slide that outlines that. As you can see, we have last year as a point of comparison to this year. We had our basic benefit and our first, second, and third crisis benefit, and with a maximum benefit for each one of the families. We were able to plus it up very modestly from $425 to $430 in each of the categories. We've also done some modest increases in the actual basic benefit, which is where we did most of our, where we put the bulk of the additional increases in our dollars in our different benefit levels. So in the end, again, you see the definition of our vulnerable households and how we define that. You can see that each one of our vulnerable household levels and each one of the levels we have made some increases from last year. And what you see there also on the right side of the screen is what we would consider the most vulnerable and the maximum amount of crisis benefit the maximum amount of benefit they would receive with the basic benefit and then the 3 rounds of the crisis. So just to go back to the third round of the crisis for a moment, we did realize in, I believe it was 2 legislative sessions ago, we did have participants in the LIHEAP program who had exhausted their basic benefit and their first and second crisis benefit as well. And they were left, I think around probably February, maybe early March, without access to additional benefit. There was, we believe, a misunderstanding that there were no more LIHEAP dollars. There actually were a lot of LIHEAP dollars left, but there were no dollars available to access for those who had exhausted their their basic first and second crisis benefit. Understanding that that was a very high legislative priority, last year and this year, we have then built in that third round of crisis benefit. So if we exhaust the third round of crisis benefit, we are up to the maximum of our grant. So we would not be able to add a fourth, but at this point, this is what our matrix is reflecting, is that need for there to be 3 rounds of benefit. Next slide, please. Thank you. So building on some of our current successes and some of the things that we're proposing for 2027, we're going to continue the program efficiencies that we've introduced, which I've mentioned before. We do have a similar benefit structure as we did in the last year. We will continue our heating system repair and replacement program so that we can help those that either have inoperable or really unsafe heating systems in their homes, usually much older homes, and we find these with our very either disabled or of our other vulnerable population or those that are elderly. We will maintain our DTN-based vendor pricing model, and I will leave DC Hadler to explain what that is. I do know, but just enough to be confusing to everyone, so I'll leave that alone. And then we will move on to the right side. The enhancements that we're putting in and proposing for the next year is to expand our categorical eligibility. So that means that we're adding to the categories of those who are eligible to the program certain veterans with a means-tested benefit program. We are also expanding our vendor portal so that we can include all of the ways in which people access this benefit. So property managers and municipal associations that own their own oil or heating company, and solid fuel vendors. We still have a lot of people that use coal and wood, and pellets, I should say. And so we want to be able to make sure that those that heat their homes in those ways have an opportunity to participate in the program. We have been using, to the third point, targeted outreach for our SNAP and our Medicaid programs to directly reach constituents individually. We have found this to be extremely effective in getting in touch with individuals. So we are using targeted outreach in our messaging campaign and moving that to our LIHEAP program as well, because it really does help people to know when the program opens and to encourage them to apply early. And finally, we are improving the ways in which you can apply online, so that you can do that online with your phone and other ways that are better for the customer experience. And then finally, we just thought it might be helpful to just have a snapshot of the timeline here. So early intake starts in just 3 weeks on September 1st. I don't even want to talk about summer being over, but this is where we are. November 2nd, a couple of months after that, will be the first day for fuel deliveries. And next April is the last day that we can authorize fuel deliveries. They can happen after that, but last authorization, May 31st for household eligibility, and June 17th for our vendor partners to submit their deliverable fuel bills. And that, respectfully, is a summary of our entire allocation plan, and we are here to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions? So we have a ton of questions. So Representative Walker.
Thank you, and good morning. Good to see you. I just want to make sure that I understand and everybody understands that there are basically 4 payments that you would get with your allocation. In the first part of tranche of the allocations is the basic, so they get an automatic in the beginning of that amount. Is that the way I'm reading it?
Yes. So the way it would work is that everyone would get the basic benefit when they apply. If you can demonstrate that you've exhausted the basic and there are particular criteria that you will need to meet, then you can access the first, then the second, then finally the last crisis. So the first, second, and third crisis rounds really are more of a safety net and a guarantee if you exhaust your basic. So surprisingly, many people don't know this. We have a number of people who can go through the season with the basic and maybe through the first, and they don't end up accessing the second or the third. But we wanted to make sure that people, especially when it's very cold, and we know it was particularly last winter, that there's a cushion to be able to access the basic benefit along with the 3 crisis rounds.
In order to go from the basic to the first and the second crisis, what criteria do you use in that respect?
Thank you, Representative Walker. Peter Hadler, Deputy Commissioner at DSS.
Good morning.
Just for awareness, the basic benefit is available to all of the participants in the program who pay directly for their fuel. The crisis assistance is for deliverable fuel only, so primarily home heating oil. And it is just simply a measure of whether they are running out of fuel. You could have less than a quarter of tank left. Individuals work directly with their local community action agency to be able to ascertain their needs and be able to tap into the crisis assistance. So it is a process with the client, notifying the community action agency, the community action agency working with their vendor to ensure that they have a timely fuel delivery.
Okay, could you expand on that a little bit? Because I understand they'll be sitting in front of someone to prove that they need it, but for everybody that might be listening, can you explain what are the criteria that they should be bringing with them to the community action agency or somebody like that?
Yeah, sure. So the crisis assistance eligibility is no different from the basic benefit eligibility. So it's really a functionality of a household's income. You need a little bit of information about your household size and your income so we can make a determination of whether you meet those federally required thresholds. A little bit of additional information such as your electric account information, which is very beneficial for us in case we have the ability to provide a payment on the electric account later in the year. And if there are any questions that that might indicate that you are, for example, receiving another DSS benefit, you may not need to reprove your income. That's what we talk about categorical income eligibility. We recognize that families, for example, who participate in our SNAP program have already gone through a means testing process and demonstrated that their income meets the eligibility for the SNAP program. And the SNAP program's eligibility is lower than the LIHEAP program. So we can confer income eligibility without needing to do additional paperwork.
Excellent. That's what I wanted to try and connect those things. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Senator Lesser.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good to see you, Commissioner, Deputy Commissioner. Just a question. We received an OFA briefing. We've been trying to get our heads around the numbers here, and I'm still, there's just like part of what's happening that I'm struggling with, and that is you're projecting caseload growth. The price of heating oil is up this year. You're increasing the basic benefits, the benefit amount, and also increasing, I think, the margin over rack payment to the dealers at a time of flat funding. So how are you able to make that work? Is it just by reducing the carry forward? How does that? I just trying to understand where the money to do that comes from.
Yeah, well, I'll start and then DC. We did it in part by reducing the carry forward. We did, but so, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Commissioner, and thank you, Senator Lesser. So it's a bit of a complex process in sort of setting up the budget each year. We wanted to recognize that we've seen varying enrollment over the last few years. So we took the average of the past 3 years and then projected a slight increase from there. We also looked very carefully at the uptake rate. For example, as the Commissioner just noted, some households will only use their basic benefit and one crisis assistance. So based on our experience from the prior year, we can make an estimate about what proportion of the population might access those crisis assistance benefits. And it's sort of reevaluated every year to make sure that we are maximizing what we can offer to individuals. And that's sort of the background process. So it's a combination of the projected enrollment, the usage from the prior year that informs what we expect people to be able to use, and we come up with the best estimate we can. Take recommendations, for example, from our advisory board at LIHEAP, who recommended, if possible, to increase the basic benefit, which we were happy to be able to do through that budgeting process of estimating enrollment, and again, seeing how much funding was left in the prior year that we might be able to allocate up front this year.
And it's a first come, first served process. So if you run out of funding at any point in the process, how do you triage? If this is the plan that you have, but you're estimating a number of different things, and those estimates are sometimes accurate, and then sometimes they're not, and we don't know what the price of oil is going to be at the end of the year, although it's pretty high right now. So how do you triage if demand in one area is different than you've projected, and you're trying to figure out how to stretch the available dollar?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
It's a very good question. You're correct. It is a first come, first served program. That's the way it has historically been administered. If we were in a position where we anticipated that we would be running out of funding, which is not a situation we've encountered in many years, just to put that out there. But if there was a sudden increase, very much larger enrollment than we had been projecting, then I think we would come back and have a discussion with legislators, and the typical approach, the default would be to close the program if we run out of funds. But there would be an opportunity to potentially extend if there were other funding sources that folks wanted to make available. But again, within a limited block grant structure, first come, first serve. If the funds do get exhausted, then they run out.
And I will make a plea that you have heard before, but I will repeat it just for the tens of people watching at home on CTN. You have you've done a lot of work to strengthen the online portal, and I'm grateful for that. I think it's easier to access than it has ever been before, and you've reduced the burden on the community action agencies, and it's just become a more streamlined system, and I think that's wonderful. There is another program out there that a lot of folks hear from called, I think we figured out it was called Generation Power now. It's changed names. And if you're poor in the state of Connecticut, you got to fill out a lot of paperwork, and that has gotten worse since the passage of HR 1. And I know that these are separate programs administered by separate organizations with separate application procedures, but if there's any way in the future to make it possible for folks to apply for 2 programs with 1 form as opposed to 2 forms, I think that's just in general a way to make things a little bit easier for poor people in the state. And I would hope that at some point we'll be able to get there. I know that there are bizarrely a huge number of complications for that, and Commissioner, you and I have talked about that recently. I think we talked about it yesterday, so this is not a surprise, but it's something that at some point I'd hope we could be able to address.
Thank you.
Senator Needleman.
Thank you, Senator Austin. So, thank you, guys. This is not an easy thing to do. A couple of things. So I follow the price of fuel every day just because it's a habit at this point. And oil is 50 cents a gallon. Home heating oil is 50 cents a gallon more than it was a year ago at this time. It's at record highs for the last 20 years, even at the beginning of the outbreak of the war in Ukraine, when the fuel prices spiked, it was $3.89, it's $4.29 today. I'm concerned that we're going to run out if we had a cold winter. And I'm not sure what we can do about that, but we just don't want people to be cold in their houses. Anybody, whether they're poor, whether they're old, and I think we have a potential problem coming down. I also think that the high fuel oil prices could lead to higher electric supply rates come January, which would be a double whammy. So I just hope we're taking that into account. The idea that this closes when you run out of money is something that's of concern. As a municipal leader, I just want people to understand that some towns do what they can to help to supplement people who run out of oil. We've had many, many cases in Essex where we filled up people's tanks. We don't make them go through a ton of paperwork, but it's not an open door policy kind of thing. The other thing that I just wanted to ask you is, we're now like a year or two into the low income discount rate for electric customers, I think. Have you seen that? It's sort of tied to some of this stuff from an income point of view. Has that helped? I mean, have you seen, took years to get to the point where we had an actual functioning program, but have you seen any more people talking to you about that? Has it helped? Because that was a big thing that we did. And I just want to make sure it's being utilized properly.
Yeah, thank you for your question, Senator. I appreciate that. And we do share your concern about the volatility of the energy markets. We try to do the best that we can within the resources that we have available to us. But as Deputy Commissioner Hadler said, let me say two things. One is that we follow the intake in the program and the enrollment very carefully. And if we see early on or even in the middle of the program that it's trending in a way where we think we may need additional resources, then we will be back. We will let our OPM partners know, and we'll let the legislature know. We will not get to the point where you will find out in ways that you wouldn't want to that we're about to shut down the program. We're very proactive in that way. To answer your second question, I personally have not had any feedback on the program that you speak of. I don't know if you have.
Yeah, I can just chime in. We're very proud to be able to partner with utility companies to support that evaluation for eligibility for the low income discount rate. We do not, of course, individually apply them. I think there are other folks who are in this room, perhaps, who might be able to contribute some more information. The low income discount rate information is regularly shared at the LIHEAP advisory board meetings. There's some very good information that can be shared about the number of households that are benefiting from that and the dollars that are being saved off of the electric bills for low income households. So our role is sort of an information provider to be able to help folks get access to the low-income discount rate, again, without needing to go through many more rounds of paperwork. But I think there's other folks who might be able to give you a lot more information about the impact of the LIDR.
Somebody just texted me that you helped design the program, and I think that was really important, that we got to a point where it was an affordable amount. We're hoping that it helps people. We're also hoping that as the program was designed, that it lowers, if not eliminates, arrearages on electric bills, which helps everybody in the state. That was in the program design. Heating oil is almost like a just-in-time fuel. You get a cold snap, you use a lot more, and the price on the spot market, you don't buy under contract, do you? No. It's difficult. So I just think that there's going to be less available oil for the customers that are going to need it. So I think we would need to find ways, if it happened to be another winter like last winter, we want to make sure that the customers got what they needed and no one was cold. Thank you.
Representative Hughes.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Commissioner and DC Hadler. I just want to really commend us all working together to improve over last year, especially opening up eligibility to those certain veterans and the portal user-friendly experience for our community action agencies. I feel like this body has really listened and responded to our partners in the community, and including our fuel oil delivery folks that are really trying to make this maximize efficiency. I share some of the concerns of my colleagues about future-proofing this for next winter, when a lot of this was used before the war in Iran, which was, in February. So now we're seeing this spike of costs that, we're going to have to anticipate maybe continuing into this winter, especially if it's harsh. I appreciate the user-friendly texting and outreach to help people to prepare for. And I also think we need to work more closely with our municipalities and their own emergency heating assistance programs, so that we can really catch people who might be facing catastrophic costs because of the prices. So I don't know if we can almost plan a different timeline to check back in as we monitor this really closely, but I think that would be helpful, and I just really applaud the improvements that you made over last year.
Representative Nolan.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for being here, Commissioner in DC. Just curious in regards to, at what point during the year do you get low? Would you get low enough that you would start to let us know?
So I'm just trying to think. We monitor it constantly, which is why it seems like a simple question, but I think when we would do that, I think we would see where we are through the basic benefit and what demand we have for the first round of crisis. And so to Representative Hughes' point, we can certainly come back and report where we are as it relates to, as it compares to the number of households we think we should have had applications from at that point, and the number of people who've actually accessed the benefit. So I think once we get to, if we see that we have enough people at the second round, and we're seeing that we have pretty high demand, that would probably be the place where we would come back and say, we think we have some concerns about viability, financial viability of the program, if it were, let's say, and it depends on the time of year as well. So if we're in November and we see that we have a run rate or a burn rate of our resources that is much higher than we anticipated because of the changes in, let's say, in the oil market and demand, then we would come back earlier. If we track the program and we're in January or February and we see that we're pretty steady, but we think there's going to be a spike and that oil prices are still volatile, then we would come back at that time. The earlier, the better. But I think the first time we'd probably come back as a check-in would be after the basic and the first round, just to say, here's where we are.
Just to build on what the commissioner said, we track weekly the changes and comparisons from the prior year, so that we have a very good sense of whether we're trending much higher or lower in any given category, whether it be enrollment or the number of crisis assistance that we've issued. So it's something that we can certainly advise on fairly rapidly if we start to see a significant deviation from what we've projected.
Thank you, because that would have been my next question. How often do you track?
Every week.
For that, but and if I can ask, what do you have? We have a lot of people that aren't savvy to the computer still, our seniors, and do you have flyers that give the information that you can send us so that we can get them printed and put them in places like housing authorities, and so people can actually see it on the wall when they go up and down? That would be a real important thing, I think, if you can send to the administrator and they can pass it to us.
I know you didn't try and sneak in another one. I've been keeping an eye on you.
I know I could feel the heat.
Yeah.
I'll wait till.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that, Representative Nolan. I appreciate you following those rules. Representative Johnson.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for your presentation today about this. I have a question about the companies that deliver the oil to the people that have have met the requirements. And I've received information from certain companies that do the oil delivery about the changes in the market rates. And then what happens is they feel that they're not getting the full amount, and they actually lose money when they deliver the oil to the people who have the needs and who have been accepted. And at this point in time, because a little bit farther from the coastal area. And I'm not sure the actual cost of oil varies depending on where the oil comes from. I just wondered what is in place to try and stabilize that situation, if anything, or do we need more policy that would address the fact that some of the delivery to the people who have met the requirements for need are actually going to not receive it because the delivery company isn't able to fully actually get the amount of money that they spent to deliver the oil.
Yeah, thank you, Representative Johnson. It's a great question. It's one that we work with our partners on very regularly. I will sort of harken back to last year. The legislature directed DSS to work with our stakeholders to design a updated structure for reimbursing our deliverable fuel partners while maximizing benefits for clients. The product of that work group was that we really did change the way that we offer reimbursement models for our deliverable fuel partners to include not just our historical margin over rack program, which was centered on the New Haven terminal, but we restructured that to recognize 4 geographic terminals around the state as the foundational basis for a margin over rack, while also offering a discount off of retail opportunity for people who did not want to use that margin approach. So vendors have multiple ways that they can evaluate which approach works best for them to be able to serve their communities. We do think that this has been well received. We, in fact, also were able to offer additional flexibility last year when we saw the extreme spike in prices to allow folks that had previously been using the margin over rack program to be able to move into a discount off a retail approach, recognizing the volatility of the markets, which was also, I believe, very well received by our partners. So we have some tools. We've really restructured the foundation of the way we did it, and we did that in a very collaborative manner with all the partners at the table. So we feel pretty good about where we are as far as opportunities. And I also want to note that we do recognize that there's underlying operational cost burdens that are being borne by our deliverable fuel partner vendors. We increased the margin over rack by 5 cents from last year to this year per gallon to help recognize that some of those costs, we tried to account for them with that adjustment.
Thank you for that answer. And could you kindly send me a copy of the policy so that I can meet with some of the delivery people here in the area, just to make sure that they understand how it works and give feedback so I can give you the feedback that I get when I meet with them. And thank you so much for your work, and you're very much appreciated. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And anything that you send to anybody would go to the administrator, and she would send it out to everybody. Representative Gresco.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Along that line of answering and questions, a lot of vendors have contacted me, and I'm sure they contacted the rest of us, some even in my district, saying that you're not complying. You regionalized the pricing, but you eliminated the county pricing, and you're still a day behind on prices for reimbursement, and they're walking a tightrope as far as whether or not they're going to continue to participate in the program. I know it was a few years back, I believe it was 23, that the directive was issued, but they're still not happy, and I'm sure we're going to hear from them when we have public comment. But I'm going to give you a chance now to give me an answer.
Yeah, thank you, Representative. We have heard those concerns. I just want to acknowledge that, yes, that is something that we as an agency have had a lot of conversations with our partners about. It was really one of the central conversations during that work group that I just referenced that the legislature directed us to assemble, to bring all the stakeholders together to review the methodology in which we reimburse our deliverable fuel vendors. It should be noted that the county differential approach was necessary because we were leveraging a single terminal as the basis for all of our reimbursement. We've instead moved to a geographic model that recognizes some of the baseline costs based on geography, so that there's a more proximate terminal for where the oil deliveries might be being sourced for deliverable fuels, which recognizes some of that geographic difference. So you'll see that if you look at the 4 rack prices, they are not uniform. They are picking up some of those regionality costs. The county differential was not considered a best practice. We didn't find any other state that used a county differential. So again, as we were looking to try and identify the best way in which to structure, again, a program that offers more opportunity for vendors to have, a better reimbursement or a different reimbursement opportunity while also maximizing those benefits for the end users, this is the model that everyone agreed was the appropriate approach. And just very quickly with regards to the date of delivery concern, that is something that we also have discussed with our partners very frequently. We have shared a lot of information. There's some very practical concerns about trying to change the way that process works. We did an evaluation of every delivery over the course of the year, and when we did that evaluation, if we had been paying on a different day, the vendors would have actually lost money over the course of the year. So the prices go up and the prices do go down. We do think that the approach that we have balances those out over time.
And if I can have one quick follow-up. Yes, other states around us don't have the county pricing, but they base their base off of their regular price and not the discounted price. And this is one of the reasons why the vendors are a little upset at this point. And is that possible to go back to a regular price?
We can set the prices in different ways, just recognizing that other states do use different methodologies. Some offer retail pricing for some of the products that they incorporate into their program. But because this is a federal fixed block grant with a fixed sum of money, if we were to offer retail pricing, it would mean substantially less fuel being delivered to households. So we do try to strike that balance between maximizing benefits for individuals while ensuring that vendors are adequately compensated and continue to participate.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. I was going to have to keep an eye on you, Representative Gresko, because Representative Nolan was going to yell at me if I'd let you ask a third question. Representative Gajewski.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good to see you, Commissioner and Deputy Commissioner. I just have I appreciate the expanded categorical eligibility for certain veterans. My question is that going to put them in, where does that kind of put them? Does that put them in vulnerable or non-vulnerable on your distribution of the LIHEAP?
It would depend on their income, but they would most likely fall into the vulnerable for the most part.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. That was my only question.
Okay.
Representative Santiago, you had your hand up for a minute and then it came down, so I'm curious. Did you have a question, ma'am?
No, I think thank you. Representative Gresko put the nail on the head. So those were in line with some of my questions. So thank you.
Thank you. Representative Case?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I appreciate the questions, and a lot of these questions bring out more. But when you look at the same day pricing, and I think we've talked about this for years, if we were priced at a price yesterday and delivered today the market actually went up 6 cents, so that company loses 6 cents. And if we also look at this, and I just want to make sure, because it's a federally funded program, pass-through money through the state of Connecticut, no state budget money in this. But the market today is actually $1.64 higher than it was this day last year. Not 50 cents, $1.64. But when you look at a byproduct, which we also sell, or we also deliver, which is propane, I mean, that's only a variance of 8 cents. It comes from the same barrel. I don't know why heating oil is on a different market. It's just a byproduct. My concern, and to the Deputy Commissioner, what is the holdup on trying to get it so that these companies can get paid on the same day? I know we say that we can try to make it up if there's a down, but why can't we do it on the same day? Through you.
Yeah, thank you, Representative Case. I'm happy to share some more background information. I know we have documented some of this, and maybe that would be helpful for folks to sort of understand some of the rationales between, why the structure is the way it is. Just for example, if you are preparing your routes for delivery on the next day, but you don't know how much your dollars are going to stretch based on the price per fuel, then you may end up with a situation where the anticipated delivery can't be covered by the benefits, or you might be left with a small portion of benefits if, say, the price goes down. Let's say it's 100 gallons that's being delivered. And so being able to know in advance how much fuel can be delivered at a set price does have administrative value for individuals and for the program, so that we don't run into sort of those kinds of situations. But I'm happy to provide additional information about some of the rationale. I think we've documented this and sort of shared it out, and happy to do so again.
Thank you. And so if the $430 payment, which is the payment that goes out, that's about 80 gallons on today's price. 100-gallon minimum for companies. A lot of companies, from I'm understanding, are dropping out of the program. What are we going to do to cover when we can't deliver the 100 gallons because there is a fuel surcharge that comes from the company?
I can start to answer that question, Commissioner, unless you've got, I just want to say, Representative Case, for example, you can tap into multiple crisis assistance benefits if necessary. So if you have a vendor who is going to charge a surcharge because they don't want to deliver a smaller fuel volume, if people are, for example, in their first crisis assistance benefit round, it is possible to issue them a portion of their second crisis assistance in order to be able to make a completed payment, and to have the fuel delivered. So we talk about them as individual crisis assistance, but they can be combined if necessary, given a particular circumstance such as the one that you've described.
Thank you. And my questions are up. I just find it interesting, and with this whole program that, heating oil is treated as an overage of the market, but full retail can be paid for all the other fuels. I think that's something that we need to work on. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there anybody else that have questions for the first time? Representative Baumgardner?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Great to see you, Commissioner and Deputy Commissioner. A question regarding cooling. We've talked a lot about heat. Obviously, extreme heat is the new normal, and with greater frequency, there's going to be a bigger attention to it in the future. It's central to energy affordability issues. My question is, why is it being treated as a sort of a secondary item, something that would be funded with surplus funding or contingency funding rather than a defined benefit?
Thank you. I want to make sure I understand your question. Are you asking why we don't have a specific allocation plan for cooling?
Correct.
Is that what you're asking?
Akin to, for example, there's like a $1.2 million allocation for furnace repairs, right? So maybe something similar for air conditions or cooling equipment.
Okay. Yeah. We can certainly take that back. Historically, we haven't. Historically, the way that we've managed our LIHEAP program is that we set our basic benefit, our rounds of crisis. If we find that we have not exhausted the funding that has been allocated for our heating purposes, we do in fact do one of two things. And sometimes we do both. We will issue a credit to those on their utility bills that are eligible for the program, and we will also, and that in fact acts as a benefit for cooling. So we do try to set aside some resources for that purpose, but with the volatility that we're facing now, in this year, I'm not necessarily sure we can do that. I'm happy to take back a particular structure for our cooling program, knowing that we don't do it that way now because we try to front load as much into the heating as we can because we are in New England and because it tends to be a lot colder here than it is warmer. But to your point, because it is getting warmer, it actually has been a point of discussion in our agency that we do think we may have to pivot a bit because of what's happening environmentally. So because we don't really want people to suffer in the cold or in the heat.
Thank you. I appreciate your comments and your leadership. Thank you both. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Are there anybody else for the first time? So I just wanted to go back to what Representative Case was talking about. And this always frustrates me because we have people that believe in the market. Market rate is what sets the price. Does the Department of Social Services set the price for oil?
We do not, no.
You don't?
No.
Really? So it's not set by state government?
No, it is not.
No.
No.
I'm just curious because I always wonder, are we going to start setting the market rate? Are we going to dabble in setting the market rate so that the people who are buying and then ultimately selling that commodity, we're going to set that price and we're going to dabble into how that is handled in the market. We are reacting to what the market is, correct?
That is correct.
And I am by and far one of those people that does not like to bring up federal issues. But the federal government has dramatically impacted the price of fuel. Would that not be an accurate statement?
Yes, it would be.
So the federal government got involved in a situation. Now, I was in the Army. I was in the Army. I don't often talk about what I did when I was in the Army, but let's just say I was in the Army a long time ago. And we were in a war at that time. We're in a war right now. And the consequences of going into war is that people get hurt, people die, and it impacts the market of a lot of things that people have to pay prices for. And I don't need a comment from you, Commissioner, on this. I just want people to understand that we do not, as state government, set the market rate for any fossil fuels at all. If we're going to do that, if we're going to become a socialist society where we are setting those rates, which I'm not in favor of at all, then I have a problem with that because I don't want to do that. We have to figure this out, and Connecticut is uniquely situated where we can't get more natural gas in. The pipelines are closed down by the state of New York. I wish they'd work with us, but they don't. The state of Maine stops us from getting hydroelectric power down here. So we end up with all the problems that we have here. I think that we should pay our mom and pop fuel companies as soon as possible. If we can ever figure it out how to pay them same day, I'd love to see that because they're mom and pop businesses, which mom and pop businesses should be taken care of. But it is not anybody at this table who is setting the market rate of oil, gas, the price of wood from the guy who's cutting it down the road, or anything. That is set by the market, not any of us. I just wanted to say that. So, is there anybody else who wants to comment for the first time?
Yes, Representative Gonzalez.
Representative Gonzalez.
And Tammy,
first
and me
time.
too, Kathy. I have my hand up also.
Yeah, thank you. I want to piggyback on Representative Nolan when he was asking about if they're going to provide information like flyers to the people they don't use technology. And my question is, if they're going to be providing also that information also in Spanish, because I do have a lot of Spanish speaking, and they don't first they don't use technology and they don't know the language. So I want to be sure that they also are included.
Yes, Representative, we do, our default is to provide as much when we provide materials is to provide them in English and in Spanish.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Representative Gonzalez. Representative Nuccio.
Thank you. Commissioner, I was wondering if you could give us any updates on changes that may have been made regarding the audit and new opportunities using their LIHEAP money to pay for other money rather than using it for what it was intended for. Can we get an update on DSS's response to the audit and the mishandling of the LIHEAP funds and what we're doing to ensure this doesn't happen again?
So thank you for your question, Representative Nuccio, and I believe everyone is aware of the fact pattern as it relates to new opportunities. I will say this, that between the partnership we have with new opportunities and the community action agencies, and particularly with the Office of Policy and Management, we have been able to have a more collaborative and cooperative relationship with NOI. So to begin with, we have, with OPM, been overseeing all of the payments. This happened last year with, through the LIHEAP program. We literally had people at NOI every day issuing checks, making them available to our deliverable fuel vendors to make sure that people got paid. And then with respect to the audit, there, as you know, there were a number of findings that were there. And with respect to those findings, both OPM and DSS and other state agencies with whom NOI have contracts are working to make sure that those audit issues are being addressed. I will say this about their current interim CEO. He is behaving in a way that I think is absolutely extraordinary for having to step up in the middle of a crisis and run an organization to rebuild its credibility and to make sure that the enormously large catchment area that they have are having its needs met. And I will also say this about the partners of the community action agencies. They did not hesitate for a moment to step in and support NOI through this crisis, so that those that are in that catchment area are still receiving all of the benefits that they should be receiving and getting all the services that they should be getting. As a state, we are continuing to closely monitor what is happening at NOI. There is oversight not just with us, but with OPM, and we're in regular, and actually more than regular, it's pretty consistent, almost weekly contact with NOI, not just to make sure that that resources are going where they're supposed to, but also to make sure that those who are supposed to be getting those particular services are actually getting them. When the crisis first occurred, we did a number of things. Our partners at OPM actually put some fiscal guardrails in place and actually put an individual from an outside organization to oversee their fiscal management day by day. And then we, in turn, as an agency, also stepped in to oversee the LIHEAP funds to make sure that they went where they would. We also then asked a former respected leader of a community action agency to walk side by side with the current interim CEO so that they could be advised and supported and directed as they put the agency back on its feet. And that has happened. He was there for several months, very well respected, and he provided some recommendations which the agency is now following. So we are all in a place right now, NOI, DSS, OPM, and our other agency partners with whom NOI have contracts are in a place of monitoring and support and collaboration. We don't want to close the doors at NOI. They serve far too many people, and it would be really disastrous for that catchment area. Instead, the decision has been made to continue to support and monitor and guide. And I hope that answers your questions.
So I think it helps a little, right? You know, you say crisis, and I understand that, but it was a management-made crisis, right? So it wasn't something that happened to them. It's something that they did. So my concern here is, do we feel like NOI is in a place where they can adequately manage all the programs that they are? You know, we are giving them a lot of money. And I like the idea that we have people there that are overseeing it and that, but are we going to then continue to staff this organization to ensure that they're doing the right thing? Or are there other opportunities for other organizations to take over what they were doing until they can get their ship righted? You know, I just have concern about kind of continuing as it's going with oversight from us, unless that oversight is going to be for a much longer term to establish processes where we can ensure that this doesn't happen again.
So it's more the latter. And I will say that in the conversations and discussions that I've had with NOI, with their board chair, that the secretary and I have had, they have made enormous progress in several respects. One of which is really recognizing that the practices that were engaged in before with previous leadership aren't practices that can or should continue. And so their board and their leadership have really made a commitment to shifting that, and we've seen that. There has been some internal reorganization that have been recommended by the advisor that I mentioned earlier, and they've adopted many of those recommendations to do some internal reshifting. And that has included, moving away from the entity that they had stood up that was actually part of the problem that they had, and sunsetting that entity, reorganizing some of the programs, I cannot speak to the programs that other agency heads have with their contracts specifically. I can tell you that with the contract that we have, we continue to, I will say the word, we continue to enjoy a significant amount of collaboration and support and guidance that they take from us and follow. It will take some time because what had occurred is something that had occurred over time. But at this moment, as we sit here, we are very encouraged by the ways in which NOI has, its current leadership has, number one, taken responsibility for the fact that things weren't the way that they should be. Number two, been very open to sometimes the demands that we have made as a state that they change the ways in which they're operating. We have asked sometimes for personnel changes, and they have made those. We actually said to them, we are offering you this advisor, but it isn't really an offer. You need to take them and work with them, because to us, that's a signal that you are really serious about doing things very differently within your organization. And they very gladly welcomed that person in and followed their advice and guidance. So it may take longer than some may feel comfortable with, but in the end, what we've seen and what they've consistently demonstrated, particularly with their interim CEO and their board chair, is that they are very committed to making sure that this organization remains viable and remains stable, and so are we as a state.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I only have like one or two other things. Do you have any of that documented of what you guys have done? I know we've seen the audit, right? So I would like to see if you have processes and procedures that you're putting in place, and any changes that you've made that can help assure us, not that I don't take your word for it, Commissioner, but I just would like to see the information of what we've actually asked them to do and what they are doing. So if you have something like that, if you could please share it with the committee, I think that would be great. And then the only other question that I have is, are they still going to get?
Representative Nuccio, that's like the third or fourth thing, so I'm going to go to asking if there's anybody else for the first time. I'll come back to you, of course.
Okay.
Senator Gordon.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman, and thank you, Commissioner, Deputy Commissioner. As a Senate Republican leader on the Veterans Committee, I'm glad to see you're looking to see what more we can do for veterans. Do you have any estimate, I don't have to hold you down to a specific number, of how many more veterans might be potentially able to be of help? I spend a lot of time in my district where I have a lot of veterans who I know ask me about might they be eligible for various services and things like that, and I'm glad we're trying to do more to help them. They're especially a group who are in need, especially those veterans who are disabled and cannot work. So I don't know if you have any idea when you decided to try to expand to help them with eligibility. Any estimate, do you think, how many more might be of help? If you don't have it now, I don't have to hold you to the spot.
I don't think I do. I know you would think I would with this notebook, but that's the one thing I think is not in here. So yes, I can get that for you.
No, I appreciate it, because I'm just interested to see, because there's certainly a big need out, out there. I know there's been discussion separately about what happens beyond the state level with the price of gas and oil, home heating oil and things like that. And there are various things that happen over time. I remember I think it was June of 2022, the price of gas, for example, skyrocketed up to over $5 a gallon on average in the United States. And then later on, home heating oil did as well. And those were for various other reasons that happened. So there's always ups and downs with regards to things that happen outside of our control here in Connecticut. So I appreciate what you can do, trying to pivot from year to year. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Is there anybody else for the first time? For the second time, I have a number of people. Representative Walker.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and this is brief. I just want to commend you, Commissioner, and your agency for standing next to the community action agencies and helping to make those changes, making sure that we understand exactly what's going on and what has to be addressed, and doing a corrective and making it very transparent, and making sure that we continue to keep the operations going for the organization. These poverty programs are so important for us, and you, of all people, have seen this so much in so many needs that I appreciate everything that you guys have done. So I just want to say thank you for that.
Senator Needleman.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Just want to correct something I had said and follow up on what Senator Austin said. I think the price a year ago was $2.30 at the wholesale level, not $3.70. I was looking at a different chart. which basically means it's almost double. And that means you can supply half. There are things outside of our control. In the Connecticut legislature, certainly wars are one of those things. But I just wanted to ask the question, because I know like municipalities are offered the opportunity to buy under contract, usually lock in a price at a time when their prices are, at a point where the buying groups find that they're optimal. Do you guys ever consider doing that to sort of, how much money you have, you can sort of lock in a price, you get committed to it, and there's always a risk that prices will be lower at the time you buy it. But last winter, spot oil spiked because natural gas, we had that cold snap and natural gas ran out. So we were running all of our power plants on oil and trying to get oil to the power plants, which caused real problems. And I'm just wondering if there's ever been any discussion about locking in a price for the year ahead based on the available funds.
It is a suggestion that has been made before, and we have not had an opportunity to explore it fully. So I can't sit here today and tell you that we've explored it and then made a determination whether to pursue it or not. I am happy to continue to take that back and review it. Happy to do that.
Yeah, and I'm happy to help. As the energy chair, we deal with the oil dealers. And I do want to say something in regard to the oil dealers themselves. They have struggled with this program with regard to payment, with regard to volatility is a killer in this market for them and for the consumer and for the program. So locking in pricing, even though no one can play the market and pick the optimal moment, but at least you get predictability. As a business owner, I will lock in pricing, not necessarily to try to make or lose, save money or I do it because my business needs predictability.
Correct.
And in this case, I don't think year to year we can go and have the same amount of dollars or 3% more, which really translates to half the amount of gallons. And that is a real problem if the need is there. You combine this scenario with a cold winter, and it's really a catastrophe for people. So we would have to step up. We'd have to find money from somewhere. But the volatility in the last 5 years due to the war in Ukraine and the war in the Middle East right now has wrought havoc on the fossil fuel industry. Not going to make too much of a pitch for why renewables are better, because they really are. They stabilize the price. Once you pay for them, you don't have to buy fuel. The sun, the wind are free. That's right. We don't have to pay for that. This is tough, and I'm willing to help in any way I can.
Thank you.
And I think that the oil dealers would be willing to help also.
All set, Senator? All set? Okay. Representative Nolan, I just added you guys on because you each told me you had a question. So a lot of you are going to come up. If you have no question, just say, no, I'm all set. Representative Nolan.
Well, Senator Needleman just asked my question, but I was going to actually rephrase it like, do we know how much that we've actually spent in oil, wood, propane from prior years so that we could purchase in advance? It is strange as it may sound, maybe Connecticut needs to have their own reserve area with companies or create one for the state of Connecticut so that we have the fuel on hand or the whatever it takes to heat, homes so that we don't have to worry about running out. So if we purchase it in advance and then have the LIHEAP for the normal round, we always have that security of having some where we can always go into it if we need to, but really just keep it as a reserve until the following year. Then we can use the reserve and purchase the new necessary heat things for the future. Thank you.
All set, Representative? Did you expect a answer to that?
I could just briefly recognize, I think this came up during our work group. I think we collectively thought as stakeholders that it was a very interesting approach, but one that we weren't quite ready to tackle because it would be such a dramatic restructuring of our program. But that doesn't mean that we can't and shouldn't think about it, because it is definitely an opportunity. It does put the state in, like you described, in a very different position where we might be the holder of fuel and distributing directly, or some other methodology that would be akin to that. The only thing that I would sort of put, something that we definitely would have to go back and check is whether that's permissible use of this federal funding, recognizing that there's an expectation that at least 90% of the funds that are allocated each year be spent each year. So that's just a general background on the federal limits about how the dollars can be spent. We talk about our carry forward, and we are capped at a 10% amount.
Okay, and I wasn't thinking of actually using the federal funding for it right away. I was thinking Connecticut would be able to manage coming up with the funding ourselves, so that we can have our own reserve. It would kind of be separate from the federal, what we buy from the federal funding, but the state of Connecticut would have the reserve if it ran out. So we would be responsible for that ourselves. So we would have to generate some funding through some legislation to make sure that we can afford it.
Thank you for that.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Senator Lesser?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair, for the second time. We're, I think, continually concerned and want to be sensitive to the impact of volatility on our fuel vendors. I would love to just get an update on how many fuel vendors we have versus last year to make sure that we're doing okay in that regard. And then with respect to Senator Needleman's question, he talked about hedging and ways we can protect folks. One of the barriers that has come up before is ensuring that folks get access to at least 100 gallons. And I know that the value of that fluctuates with market conditions, but I think there are challenges with getting fuel oil dealers to deliver less than 100 gallons. And so has there been some thought to ensuring that that amount is available regardless of prices, as a way to provide a sort of a backdoor hedge?
Yeah, so thank you, Senator. I think to answer your last question first, I think DC Hadler actually mentioned this in a few minutes ago, that if the basic crisis and the first crisis round, even if your basic crisis doesn't cover the 100, then you can access the first crisis round to get to the 100, and then you can access the next one in order to be able to get the 100. So you're not limited to the basic, the first or the second, or even the third, in order for you to meet that 100-gallon minimum, understanding that with the volatility that we're currently operating under in the world generally, around oil and fuel prices, that we may see people move through those crisis rounds more quickly than in the past, depending on what happens. And in that case, again, what we had mentioned earlier is, as we're watching the ways in which people are accessing those benefits from week to week, we can then come back and report what we're seeing. If we see an enormous spike in fuel prices, that it takes whatever percentage more in order to be able to fill up at $100 and play out that trend, and then be able to say what we think a remedial or a corrective action plan for that would be. Of course.
And just to build on what the commissioner just advised, right, we did introduce the discount off of retail function as one methodology for being able to be reimbursed, which has a benefit of being potentially slightly more responsive to rapid fluctuations in pricing, which is why a number of the vendors have opted to leverage that methodology, and why we opened up the program to allow people to switch from margin over rack to discount off of retail during the extreme volatility that we experienced in the last season. So just wanted to note that that is out there. And as far as your question about the number of vendors, we have over 250 participating deliverable fuel vendors as of last year. We do believe that is a small increase over the prior year, and perhaps due to the variety of options for reimbursement that we introduced.
Well, that's very interesting information. Thank you very much.
Representative Nuccio? Representative Nuccio, I know that you had another question. Do you still have that other question? I'll go on to Representative Winter for the first time.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, Commissioner, Deputy Commissioner. Thanks for being here. My question goes back to Senator Lesser's question about applying for various benefits programs and understanding that there's different eligibility criteria for programs. Is it possible to link the SEEP eligibility or the SEEP application to the common benefits application? I know this has come up in the LIHEAP meetings and wanted to ask, could it be appended to the end of the common benefits application, for example, so that more residents who are eligible for SEEP can benefit from SEEP?
Turn on the mic. Thank you for your questions. So it is possible to be done. If you give us an opportunity to go back and explore what it would take to do that, we would really appreciate that.
Okay, thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
Are there any other questions for the first time? No, he was the first time. For the first time. For the second time. Oh, Representative DiCaprio for the first time.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for being here. I just wanted to mention to everybody that we have one of our last speakers, on the speaker list, can probably answer some of the questions we have as far as fuel oil and volatility and all these other things. So I just wanted to mention that. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Anybody else for the first time? Anybody else for the second time? Anybody else for the second time? So, Commissioner, I think you're all set right now. I would just like to say one thing. The federal government sets the size of the grant that you can apply for.
That is correct.
It's the federal government that sets the work requirements for veterans and other folks that are facing some shortages. It's the federal government that has decided people don't need food stamps or health care or a number of other things in a latest federal bill that passed. So, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
You're all set.
Thank you.
Up next is, we also have, Senator Lesser, we have the Department of Energy and Environmental Protection that's here. They're not on the list, and we have a new interim commissioner there. You had some questions yesterday at the briefing relative to weatherization. Did you want to ask those questions on the record, or what is up with that? Are you all set with that?
I do have a question, if time permits, Madam Chair.
Okay, if we could have.
I do sorry, our commissioner or acting commissioner here, and would hate to have had her sit for this time without giving her an opportunity to introduce herself and speak.
Acting Commissioner, the floor is yours. If you could introduce yourself. And yesterday we had a LIHEAP briefing, and we talked about weatherization and why it was not included in LIHEAP as it normally is. And we just want to have it on the record so that there aren't any, in the interest of transparency on what's going on. So I'm going to have the question asked by Senator Lesser.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Good to see you, Commissioner. Just understands that in last year's allocation plan, we allocated, I think, $500,000 to DEEP for weatherization purposes. The best information that we've received is that funding was not spent on weatherization. It wasn't spent, and it is now part of this year's carry forward. The allocation plan that's before us has no money in it for weatherization and from the LIHEAP plan. Just would love to get an update on weatherization and what DEEP is doing for that, and why you're not requesting funding in this allocation plan.
Yeah, happy to answer that question. Emma Simino, I'm acting commissioner at DEEP. Yes, Senator, as you said, historically, we have, DSS has given DEEP some LIHEAP funds to support the weatherization assistance program. The Weatherization Assistance Program is a Department of Energy program, whereas obviously LIHEAP is an HHS program. And so because of those, the sort of different originations of this funding, the requirements, the reporting, the sort of implementation of the two programs are very different. And it has been hard to meld the two sort of different requirements. And so this year, working with DSS, we decided not to take the LIHEAP funding, instead have DSS, for weatherization, instead have DSS use that funding for heating assistance, and use the other sources of federal funding we have to continue to support our several weatherization programs. But we are continuing to work with DSS to understand, are there ways we can sort of bridge that gap, working with our federal partners to better understand if there's changes we can make to implementation to sort of better utilize those funds. But we felt until we work through those challenges, that money is better spent sort of by DSS with the bill assistance versus, a lot of the funding at DEEP was going to sort of this compliance work. So we're continuing to work through those challenges in the background, but decided to kind of skip on the funding this year and look to our other sources of federal funds to support weatherization.
Well, thank you, and appreciate that information. And obviously, it's frustrating when any program has prohibitive compliance costs that make it unworkable. Because I get lots of constituent requests for weatherization assistance. Folks are trying to figure out how to stretch their scarce dollars, and weatherizing at home makes it you use a lot less energy. So it's a clear win-win for customers. How do folks access DEEP weatherization assistance currently?
Good afternoon, Senator Victoria Hackett. I'm the Bureau Chief of the Bureau of Energy and Technology Policy at DEEP. So there are a variety of ways that people can access weatherization assistance. If they are a regulated utility customer of Connecticut, of CMP or UI, they can go through the Energize CT program. I believe that the municipal utilities do have some programming as well, so they could reach out if they are a municipal customer to their utility. And then we also have the Weatherization Assistance Program, which people find out about when they apply for LIHEAP and get referred in by community action agencies. And we're currently working also to create an independent application for that program so that people can apply separately from the LIHEAP process.
And even though you're no longer receiving funding through LIHEAP, that's going to continue going forward?
Yes, the Weatherization Assistance Program is funded by DOE. It's a separate funding stream. And we used to get funding from LIHEAP to help support that program starting in 2012 when we took over the Weatherization Assistance Program from DAS, delegated it over to DEEP. For a few years, we were getting LIHEAP funding to help plus up the Weatherization Assistance Program. But as the Commissioner said, it's very difficult to manage the two programs with two different calendar years and very different reporting and compliance. So we stopped taking funding for that. And then when we launched our Residential Energy Preparation Services Program, which the REPS program, which is a program that is meant to help people who want to participate in WAP but get deferred because of health and safety barriers to participation in weatherization, such as mold, vermiculite, asbestos, knob and tube wiring. The REPS program was designed to help address those barriers so that people could participate in the WAP program or in our low income program through the utilities, HESIE, through Energize CT. And we were getting LIHEAP funding for REPS for a couple of years, and we were still having the same issues with compliance. So now we're, and making our compliance sort of compatible with DSS's. So we're going to work on that. But we also have other funding now for the latest version of REPS that we're rolling out after doing our pilot for REPS.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions for DEEP? Senator Gordon.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Acting Commissioner. One question I have is the Weatherization Assistance Program you mentioned about federal funding for it. I understand that. Is there any state funding for that, such as comes through as taxes on people's electric bills? Or is it purely federal money that routes through the state for that program?
For the weatherization assistance program specifically, that is federally funded. We have been trying to have that program work hand in hand to share costs with our state-funded weatherization programs as well, so that we could make both programs run, and especially the federal program, run more efficiently. There are a variety of barriers to that. You know, we have an excellent state program that we don't want to make the state program run less efficiently because we're trying to match it up with the compliance of the federal program. So, but that's something we've been working on for a couple of years now.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Representative DiCaprio.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you both for being here. Can you just share a little bit about, what kind of requests do you get for this, that program, and has it changed, over the recent years as energy prices have increased?
For the weatherization assistance program, or for the residential energy preparation services?
The weatherization program.
Well, there's a fair amount of demand for weatherization, both through our state-funded program and through the federal program. And in fact, we kind of spend a record percentage of the federal program in 2024. We spent a very high amount. It's a difficult program to implement, but we have increased our percentage of spend every year, and 2024 was the highest we've had to date.
I would just add, as all of us know, we have very old housing stock in New England, and so there's a lot of opportunity for weatherization, and this is why we really try to pair the use of those dollars with, the folks most in need, the folks who qualify for LIHEAP or other state assistance programs. But as Vicki said, they can be difficult projects to manage, and so we are excited that we're kind of seeing improvements year over year in our ability to reach the intended communities and to deploy the dollars.
All right, thank you both for that and for the good work you do. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Representative Winter. And I'm going to remind everybody, we are now almost 2 hours into this meeting, and we have 10 other people to talk just on the public hearing component of that. So 2 hours, and let's see what we can do. Representative Winter, the floor is yours.
No pressure, huh?
No pressure.
I'll be brief. Thank you, Madam Chair. For the furnace replacement program, is DEEP or the weatherization program involved in evaluating whether heat pumps could save residents versus the high cost of delivered fuel, or is it typically like for like replacements?
I don't want to speak to how that program is implemented by DSS, but I will say that we are currently working with DSS to evaluate how they can use the referrals that they get into that program to refer people into our programs, where heat pumps are one element of the available funding streams for our programs as well. So we are working to make sure that people who are getting the furnace replacement programs are also referred into our programs.
Okay, so there's no current involvement in the DSS from DEEP of the DSS administered replacement program funds.
No direct involvement.
Thanks. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Representative Nolan.
Good afternoon. Just wanted to follow up with what we're asking DSS to do also. If you have simplified handouts that we can drop off at the housing authorities and the locations where people don't have access to computers, so that we can have them posted on the walls, if you could send that to the administrator, and obviously in Spanish also, as Representative Gonzalez mentioned earlier, that would help.
Absolutely happy to do that, and we can also provide the links to our website, so you have all sorts of different ways to distribute that information, but happy to do that.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions for the Acting Commissioner? Welcome, Acting Commissioner. Thank you very much for coming today. Appreciate you. Up next is Claire Coleman from the Connecticut Office of Consumer Counsel. Claire. The floor is yours. I didn't know if we were going to get to you today, Claire.
Thank you. It's been a great discussion and great to see you, Senator Austin, Representative Walker, chairs, co-chairs, ranking members of the esteemed members of the Appropriations, Energy and Technology and Human Services Committees. My name is Claire Coleman. I am Connecticut's Consumer Counsel, the head of the Office of Consumer Counsel. I am here today in my role as the chair of the Low Income Energy and Water Advisory Board. I'm here today with my co-chair, or the vice chair, Nora Duncan, who you all know. And we're here to outline some of the recommendations we've made and work we've done with our advisory board throughout the year. I do want to say at the outset, I think the conversation has been really great about the challenges with affordability and energy affordability, particularly within our state. Sort of from both the ratepayer advocate lens and the role of chairing the Low-Income Energy and Water Advisory Board, I just want to emphasize how critical federal energy assistance funding is for Connecticut residents. The more federal and state, if you want to add that, assistance that we receive and that those in need obtain, not just for energy and heating costs, but also for other costs driving the affordability crisis, such as food, housing, and medical care. The more of that funding we receive, the less that we have to lean on ratepayer-funded utility programs to help vulnerable customers with much-needed assistance. It's an empty victory to achieve energy affordability through utility customer programming if those very same customers can't afford their food, can't afford housing. So it's really, that's why I see this particular meeting with this joint committee as so important. We've got expertise on energy, human services, appropriations. To me, it's really where all of the key minds come together to think about the intersections of these policies and how funding for one federally funded program impact funding and costs for affordability more broadly. As many of you are aware, our mission at LIHEAP is to advise and assist OPM and DSS in the planning, development, implementation, and coordination of energy and water assistance related programs. Nora and I have submitted written testimony on the 2027 block grant allocation you are considering today, and we'll briefly highlight just a few pieces of our comments. And I do want to make clear that we do support the allocation plan submitted by Governor Lamont and Commissioner Barton Reeves today, and we urge the committee to approve it. We were pleased that DSS and OPM took into account several of LIHEAP's recommendations that we made and that are reflected in the current plan. For example, we have been advocating for an increase in the basic benefit due to rising energy costs, and the proposed allocation plan increases the basic benefit to $355 from $295 for non-vulnerable households and $405 from $345 for vulnerable customers in that benefit level 3. Any additional assistance is meaningful at a time when households across the state are continuing to face high energy costs on top of those other costs we discussed: food, housing, medical care, and other basic necessities. And it has also been acknowledged this assistance is going to become even more critical this winter as we face inevitable supply increases that New England sees during the winter because of our connection to the volatile global fossil fuel markets and the ongoing conflicts in Europe and the Middle East, which do contribute upward pressure not just to electricity costs but to oil and gas. So one area of focus we remain dedicated to is increasing the number of recipients of SEEP, and I appreciated some of the questions and dialogue with DSS, particularly among those residents that we know are already eligible for other DSS benefits who are not currently applying for SEEP. And we are pleased that DSS has embarked on a new program with Kafka to target eligible households through a text messaging campaign. Essentially, the more barriers to access we can remove, the better off residents in need will be. Just for context, we have seen over the last few years about 80 to 90,000 SEEP applications approved per year. And we know that through data matching for the utility affordability programs, that there are about 200,000 Eversource customers and 70,000 UI customers eligible to receive ratepayer-funded assistance and hardship protections, and therefore are eligible for SEEP. So we spend a lot of time talking about how can we connect those customers that we know could benefit from SEEP that aren't yet taking advantage of it. Moving ahead, we'll also continue to evaluate the disparities in assistance available to delivered fuel customers and customers who heat with utilities, who heat with gas, and some heat with electric. You know, as has been discussed, there's an extensive number of crisis benefits that are appropriately available to delivered fuel customers, because delivered fuel customers do not benefit from any winter moratorium protections. Fuel vendors don't offer protections to low-income customers when they can't pay their bill, so there's more risk in terms of health and safety for customers. So, you know, DSS appropriately provides more emergency assistance to delivered fuel customers. However, we do want to evaluate the monetary impact to electric and gas customers as well. There has also been some discussion here already about summer energy, summer cooling programs. And we have been evaluating the fact that rising summer energy costs will increase, which are increasing in our area and across the country, unfortunately, and whether or not the state should consider a formal cooling program. So far, given the uncertain status of federal funding and the limited pool of money provided through LIHEAP at this time, our board is not recommending siphoning off a specific amount of SEEP into a separate summer cooling program, but we are continuing to work with DSS and OPM and stakeholders to evaluate how programs work in other states and whether at any point that might become optimal. And in the meantime, we've been urging DSS, the CAAs, and the utilities to get those supplemental funding assistance out as quickly as possible in the summer months when cooling assistance is very much needed. And we're pleased that DSS is able to get that supplemental funding out this year. I believe later this month it will come during the waning high heat days. So just to reiterate, LIHEAP remains essential to heating homes throughout the winter, as well as stabilizing household budgets more broadly. We urge the committee not only to approve this plan, but also help us advocate for continued and robust federal funding. While there has been bipartisan support in the House and Senate historically for LIHEAP, we all know that President Trump has proposed zeroing out funding yet again. So we remain steadfast in our advocacy at the federal government to ensure that these funds remain, and we urge all of you in this room to help us do that as well. So thank you for consideration of our comments, and Nora and I are happy to take any questions.
Are there any questions? Senator Gordon.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for your testimony. I do follow the work the advisory board does and read through the documents, so I appreciate the work that's being done. One question I have is, I read with interest in your written testimony about, in the past, wanting to see about having less of the carry forward funds, so that because there's a need in the now. And then we also heard from Commissioner Barton Reeves about wanting to make certain there is adequate funds that carry over to kind of jumpstart the program, depending upon when one gets funds in on a calendar schedule from the Fed, so there isn't a gap. Has there been any And I know this year you're not advocating for the reasons you testified to, but has there been any discussions amongst the different groups, the different agencies as to what might be a reasonable amount to decrease a carry forward depending upon other circumstances to have more money for use for people who need it versus making certain there's adequate funds to jumpstart a program the following year?
That's a great question, and one that the board has struggled with quite a bit. I've been a member of the board almost 5 years now, and in my earlier years, we were advocating to use all of the funding as immediately as possible because there are so many residents in need, and because of the rising costs for energy, that those needs are only going to increase. Given, as you indicated, the uncertainty around federal funding and the fact that we seem every year to be in this position where there's a continued resolution in Washington, and we're going month to month wondering if funds are going to come through. We've sort of recognized the benefit of DSS having some cushion to be able to start getting payments out in the event that there was no CR or no budget allocation at the federal level, and winter was creeping in, they'd have some funds to do that. So I agree, it's, we haven't said this is the right number, and I think it's changing dependent on the conditions and the security of the LIHEAP program, but something we will continue to monitor and discuss.
No, I appreciate that. I understand it's a very difficult target to pin down, given things can change month to month. And I do understand the high energy costs, which are only one part of the high electric bills. We also have all of those what's called ratepayer-funded programs, which I know my constituents refer to as taxes on it. So that's a whole separate topic that we'll certainly need to continue to tackle to try to get something done more than what's been already done. But thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, you are all set.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Up next is Gannon Long. I wanted to make sure I wasn't putting your first name, last name mix up, sorry. Go ahead. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Senator Austin. Good afternoon to leadership and members of the committees. Great to see all of you. My name is Gannon Long. I'm the Chief Policy and Public Affairs Officer for Operation Fuel, now doing business, as Senator Lesser said, as Generation Power Connecticut. Thank you for the opportunity to testify today in support of Connecticut's 2027 allocation plan for LIHEAP, known as the Connecticut Energy Assistance Program, or CEAP. Generation Power provides emergency energy and water assistance to income-eligible Connecticut residents, and our organization is also a member of the Low-Income Energy and Water Advisory Board. GPCT is first, we should say, grateful to the legislature, members of these committees, and Governor Lamont for providing an additional $1 million in general fund support for our programs this fiscal year. We'll be distributing those dollars to families across the state starting in just a couple of weeks. And we also want to thank the Department of Social Services for their partnership and support. So this year's LIHEAP plan incorporates several board recommendations, as Chair Coleman just went through, and many things that we've supported, so we're grateful for that. They include increasing the basic benefit, providing an additional benefit for utility customers with summer heating costs, and also increasing outreach efforts through an innovative text message campaign. So while we don't administer CEAP directly, our data increasingly shows that thousands of our state's most vulnerable families still depend on Generation Power for vital services. In fiscal year 26, we approved 5,741 households serving over 13,000 residents, and we provided over $2.7 million in emergency energy assistance. 24% of our 2026 clients were also CEAP recipients, and 10% rely on SSI. As far as being out of fuel or in an active shutoff situation, 10% of our clients last year reported that situation. 38% were either low on fuel or pending a shutoff that we were able to help them prevent. So just a couple of stories. We like to put it in the words of people that we actually serve and work with every day, from families just talking about the impact of a grant, just $500 a year on Connecticut families. I'm currently behind and on payment arrangements with a mortgage and power company. We are in dire need. I have 2 children, and one is autistic, and we've had a very hard year. I have been praying to receive this email. Thank you for approving my application for $324 towards my gas bill. I truly appreciate your assistance and the peace of mind it provides. This support is especially meaningful as I've been concerned about securing additional assistance for myself and my 79-year-old mother, who manages several chronic health conditions. I'm grateful for the work that you do to support the community, particularly elderly and individuals with disabilities. Generation Power's next program season is going to open on September 1st through September 15th, and we have additional information, I think, in our written testimony about those programs. Guidelines, schedule, eligibility, other information on how to apply is at gpct.org/gethelp. Finally, I just want to shout out our programs team for reviewing each household's application with compassion and efficiency, doing their best to help as many people as we can, with patience and generosity. And I also just, in closing, want to thank the committees for supporting the 2027 LIHEAP allocation plan, and thank you for your continued advocacy for our state's most vulnerable residents. Glad to take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments or questions, Representative Walker?
Thank you. Thank you for your testimony. Do you have sort of a utilization map of Connecticut where your clients are in the past year live right now?
So when people apply, they include their home address, so we could provide that. I think, are you looking for like which towns? We this past year, I think we served 167 out of 169 residents in 169 towns. So we really do span the state.
Okay.
Is there particular data that?
No, I'm just trying to find out where the utilization really is in what communities, and compare it to utilizations for other programs that are on the same line.
Sure. I think our top 5 cities in the past year, and I didn't write them down, so forgive me, but Hartford, Bridgeport, New Haven, Waterbury, Norwich are typically the top 5.
The same top 5 that every other one has. Okay.
Yeah. But I'm happy to provide more detail if you like.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for your testimony.
Anybody else? Seeing nobody, you're all set.
Thank you.
Up next is Rhonda Evans from the Connecticut Association of Community Action.
Good afternoon. Is it afternoon yet? Distinguished chairs, vice chairs, ranking members, and members of the Appropriations, Human Services, and Energy committees. Thank you for holding this public hearing on the proposed low-income home energy assistance block grant allocation plan for fiscal year 27. My name is Rhonda Evans, and I'm the Executive Director of the Connecticut Association for Community Action. And we represent and work with the community action agencies that cover the state of Connecticut, in each serving over 238,000 low-income people in all of Connecticut's 169 cities and towns. The CAAs are the federally and state designated anti-poverty agencies serving Connecticut. The community action agencies are proud partners of the Department of Social Services and work collaboratively to raise awareness of and enroll people in the Connecticut Energy Assistance Program, or CEAP, which is our state's implementation of LIHEAP. Last year, CEAP helped over 99,000 households apply for assistance with home heating costs, helping to prevent energy crisis. And right now, this community action agencies stand ready to begin assisting families with the CEAP application process on September 1st of 2026 during early intake. CAFCA supports the proposed 27 LIHEAP allocation plan, and I'd like to just highlight a couple of things that we particularly support that are consistent with last year's plan, and that includes the increased basic benefit levels, which will help people meet their energy needs of some of Connecticut's most at-risk populations, offering up to 3 crisis benefits for eligible households, flexible application methods that include phone, in-person, online, and the continuing use of secure drop boxes, as well as streamlined eligibility and aligning SEEP with other means-tested programs. Connecticut remains the second in the nation for the highest average annual home energy heat costs, behind only Hawaii. And these costs have risen every year in Connecticut since 2020 since 2025, up currently over 28% in overall costs from 2020 to 2025, and that represents nearly a $550 increase, with average monthly electric bills once again exceeding $200 last year, and with potential additional rate hikes on the horizon. Connecticut residents are continuing to struggle to make ends meet and need support to keep heat on during the winter months. All that said, on behalf of the Connecticut's Community Action Agency Network, I'd like again to support the plan and to thank all of you, as well as Commissioner Barton Reeves and our team at the Department of Social Services, for your support and advocacy for this critical program. There's more information that's included in your testimony, but in my testimony that was provided, but no need for me to read it all to you. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Are there any comments or questions? Representative Walker.
Thank you for your testimony, and thank you for your commitment to the communities. I was listening to what you supplied in services or payments last year, and I looked at what we had in the estimation. So you said about 99,000 households.
Applications that were taken.
Oh, applications, okay. All right, so once the applications, then they go, do you know if they get if everything goes through when you do the applications?
Yeah, then we have a process in place at the Community Action Agencies for validation of the information and the determination of eligibility. And so of that 99,000 applications that were taken, I believe there were about 85,000 that were actually approved for a benefit.
How many clients do you know if that Community Action Agency serves in the state of Connecticut now?
We currently serve over 238,000 customers across the state.
238, okay. And the programs are
It's
LIHEAP?
a variety of programs, everywhere from LIHEAP to early care and education, elderly services, Meals on Wheels, some agencies, variety of type of housing situations, senior housing, congregate meals. It's really what I like to call cradle to grave services, programs that benefit low-income populations pretty much along the spectrum of life.
And do they do one application?
There is a common application that customers will complete when they come into a community action agency. For specific programs, there may be some additional points of information that need to be provided that are specific to the funding source for that program. But there is a common application that every customer that comes into a community action agency does complete to determine initial eligibility and to become a customer.
So if I come in for LIHEAP and then I fill out this application and you say you may be qualified for X, Y, and Z, then are you able to move right into that next?
Yeah, we do have what we call a no wrong door philosophy in community action, where we work to connect folks when they come in, regardless of how they enter and what they're applying for, to see what other type of programs and services that they may be eligible for, and then to expedite connecting them to those other services and supports.
Okay, I exceeded my 2 questions. I saw her turn the microphone on. So she was getting ready to yell at me, so I'll shut it off. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, I think you're all set, ma'am. Thank you. Up next is Emma King and thank you from the Access Community Action Agency. Emma.
I tapped the button. Oh, sorry. Good afternoon. I guess it's afternoon.
We're
Afternoon.
after the 2-hour mark now.
Good afternoon. Thank you to chairs, ranking members, and distinguished members of the Appropriations, Energy and Technology, and Human Services Committees. I'm Emma King. I'm the Executive Director of the Access Community Action Agency, and I am joined today by Jessica Stomberg, Access's Assistant Director of Home Energy Assistance Programs. and I am going to put her on the spot. She has processed thousands of Connecticut Energy Assistance applications during her 15-year career at Access and in Community Action. She is really the rock star, I think. I hope you all will agree in this room for her support of thousands of households in Eastern Connecticut over the last decade and a half. I want to thank you all for the opportunity to testify today on the proposed federal fiscal year 27 LIHEAP Block Grant Allocation Plan administered by Connecticut Department of Social Services under the leadership of Commissioner Andrew Barton Reeves. As one of Connecticut's community action agencies serving the 26 rural communities in Tolland and Windham County, Access and its staff serve as the frontline backbone of the SEEP service delivery system. And every day, our staff work directly with low-income families, fixed-income seniors, and residents with disabilities who may be forced to make difficult choices between paying for heat, buying groceries, or filling essential prescriptions. LIHEAP has become an essential service and program for them in order to maintain basic needs and stay stable in their households.
This past winter at Access,
You got to say your name.
oh, I'm sorry. I'm Jessica Stomberg, Assistant Director at the Access Agency.
Thank you.
Thank you. This past winter at Access, our team of 14 staff members processed 7,895 applications, successfully serving 7,180 households throughout Windham and Talon counties. In support of these applications, Access processed 11,728 invoices for fuel deliveries and distributed $6.8 million in heating assistance benefits to ensure that almost 14,000 individuals, including 3,564 of them being children under the age of 16, were able to stay warm throughout the winter. We hear time and time again during the application process what an important benefit LIHEAP is to help keep homes warm, and that's because it is. It is a necessity to meet the basic needs of our most vulnerable low-income population. I am proud of the services we provide to our community, the relationships Access has built with the Department of Social Services, our partner outreach sites like Vernon Social Services, Stafford Human Services, Hebron Senior Center, and with our local deliverable fuel vendors. We look forward to the beginning of another successful heating season, and we are ready to begin accepting applications to support households this upcoming winter season.
Thank you. Are there any comments or questions? Seeing none, I think the both of you are all set.
If I could.
Yep, go ahead.
If I could, Senator, I wanted to address a question that I believe it was Senator Needleman posed earlier about participation in the low-income discount rates.
Yep.
Jessica also leads up our Assurance 16 program, which supports individuals applying for those programs. And for context, we helped about 450 households over the last 3 months access some level of the low-income discount. So if you extrapolate that out, that's a pretty large number of folks who are calling, requesting either a code for hardship. So yes, and we're actually, working with Eversource to identify some better ways that we can communicate out that benefit, especially during the summer months. So if people are applying, we're community action agencies are helping folks enroll.
So if you could send us that information to the administrator, and we'll send it out to everybody.
Absolutely, we'll get that information to you. Thank you.
Anybody else? Any questions? Any comments? Seeing none, you're all set. Chris Herb is online. Mr. Herb, we've been talking about you for the last 2 hours. So
I've been listening. I've been listening.
All right.
So no one said anything too bad.
all good stuff we've been saying. The floor is yours.
Thank you. So my name is Chris Herb. I'm the president of the Connecticut Energy Marketers Association. Sorry I couldn't be with you today. I typically testify at this hearing for the last 25 years in person, but I'm away on business. I want to first thank all of you for the bipartisan support that you've given us over the last several years in regards to the Energy Assistance Program. You've passed several laws that I'm going to touch on today that have not been included in the plan, but there have been, and I don't want this to be all bad news, there have been a lot of gains that we have made, and DSS has been very helpful in implementing some of those. But with that, the LIHEAP plan continues to not follow the state law. And in my written testimony, there is a letter from our attorney who will sort of back up all of what I'm about to provide in my oral testimony. There's a lot of comments today about the impact that the war in Iran is having on price volatility, and I'm sure you'll have questions about it. But what that does is it emphasizes the vision that the General Assembly had by passing a law that required a pricing system based on the data delivery. Some of the conversation that occurred prior to my testimony, I think, confused the timeliness of payments, which has improved dramatically over the years. Our friends at the community action agencies, Rhonda Evans' group, has been immensely helpful in ensuring that the payment terms are arriving in a timely manner. This is worlds better than it was just 4 or 5 years ago. So I can't say enough about that, but the impact of price volatility and the day that payments are based on is essential to vendors who are experiencing sometimes 40-cent price moves during any given day. So if you price oil based on yesterday's price, and the day that I'm delivering it, I see a 40-cent increase, the 55 cents margin over rack that is in the program is now eroded to 15 cents. You know, truck drivers make $35 an hour. Diesel prices are well over $5 a gallon. And I won't even get into insurance and utilities and the rest of the overcost or cost to run a business. So it is essential that Public Act 24-145 is implemented into this plan so that that price volatility does not get in the way of vendors who have to make decisions on whether they're going to participate or not because of the risk that that volatility has presented. And that volatility is something that we brought to well before even the Russian invasion of Ukraine. So you had the forethought to pass that law, but DSS has not implemented it into the plan for the second year in a row. The plan also does not include county differentials, which is required in Public Act 23-204. The deputy commissioner sort of, I think, confused the difference between the rack pricing that now we have, which is something that you passed into law and has been properly implemented. The rack pricing was implemented to reflect the difference in the cost of oil from where it is purchased. And since the only publicly available service that has more than just the New Haven rack average, which we operated under for many, many years, is the Data Transmission Network, or DTN. That cannot be used simultaneously because the law says that we have to have this rack pricing. And then it also says you have to have county pricing. The county pricing isn't reflective of the different cost of the oil and where it is purchased. It is based on the different cost of operation. So Northwest Connecticut has very different costs of operation versus Lower Fairfield County. And that's why the legislature created that. So Public Act 23-204 is not in this plan again, and we ask that it be restored. And finally, the discount off of retail, which is set at 35 cents a gallon, we believe violates the spirit of the law in Public Act 23-204 also. That act required DSS to hold a working group in which we looked at other states in our region, in which we did, and it showed that New York had a 13-cent discount off of retail. Vermont has a 15-cent discount off of retail, and yet Connecticut is based on 35 cents. I don't think the intention of the law to look at the other states was to more than double the discount. I believe that if the discount off of retail looked more like the other regional pricing, I do believe that this would solve a lot of our problems. It would be very desirable for most oil dealers. The deputy commissioner mentioned that there are 250-ish vendors participating. Well, there are nearly 600 registered home heating oil dealers throughout the state. I think that if we move to something, if we address the laws that are on the books and they were incorporated properly into the LIHEAP block grant plan, that we wouldn't be having this conversation about the potential issues with vendors participating, and you would have something much closer to the 600 that actually do business in the state. Again, I've provided detailed written testimony and a letter from our attorney. So with that, I will take any questions that you may have.
Thank you very much. I know that each and every one of us appreciate when you come in. It's been a process, but I think that we are starting to get there. Are there any questions or comments? Well, Representative Gresco.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Chris, Are there more vendors participating now than 4 years ago?
Sorry, I muted myself by mistake. There is absolutely no way that there are more vendors participating today. We are getting calls from community action agencies. We recently met with CRT in Hartford, where there was a vibrant discussion about the number of vendors who have dropped out and the difficulty that some community action agencies are having reassigning those customers to the remaining vendors. So I don't know what the specific numbers are, but I can tell you that this has absolutely become a problem. Several members of the General Assembly have called me when their constituents were told that there was no vendor serving the area. And I've been able to intervene and get other vendors to go a little bit further to make those deliveries. But that is a stretch, especially now when diesel prices are over $5 a gallon. They're not going to want to drive out of their normal service areas to fill those gaps in the future. I am immensely concerned about this upcoming season. From a vendor participation perspective. And while I can't predict what the outcome will be, we're committed to trying to work with the community action agencies as much as possible to fill those gaps. But I don't know what will happen if we're unable to accomplish that this year.
And if I may, one follow-up, Chair. The item that you had requested us to reinstate, if that is not reinstated, do you anticipate the number of vendors continuing to decrease?
Yes, I've already been informed by several large vendors, one in the Waterbury area, one in the Hartford area, that they will be withdrawing this year. They just can't live under the current plan as proposed, and that if those laws were implemented, I do believe that they would have remained in the program.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Representative Ackert.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Chris, thank you for being here and, as always, doing the work that you do. Quick question. Is there areas that are underserved? You said that there's approximately 600 plus. There's half of those are actually in the system, less than half are in the system that we're working with. Is there areas that are being underserved now throughout the state?
Yeah, so just over a third actually of the vendors of the oil dealers who operate in the state are participating currently. I expect that number will be reduced. We've had problems in the Connecticut River Valley area. We've had problems in northern Litchfield County, and actually not only northern Litchfield County, in other parts of Litchfield County. So yeah, eastern Connecticut, there are definitely areas in which I've had to intervene and ask dealers to make deliveries a little bit further than they normally would in their normal operations.
Yeah, thank you. I've received multiple letters primarily from a couple vendors that just say it just doesn't work. It's not working, and so I'm not sure if they're pulling out this year. Follow-up question. You had said follow the current statutes, and I know I've been involved with all those statutes that we've implemented. What specifically would be the target that you would say, hey, we need to just have them follow this statute? In government we put statute, but our government doesn't have any repercussion to following law, right? Unlike the regular public. What specific area? And I know I did read part of your testimony, so if you could follow up on what statute is that would be specific that would help out.
Yeah, sure. So the specific statutes are Public Act 24-145, which is associated with the margin over rack date of delivery price to base it on the date that it's delivered. And then 23-204, which is the one that required county differentials to be included. The elimination of the county differentials for some dealers means that they are now being paid 11.5 cents less. So we're doing the same work for 11.5 cents less. And I know DSS in the past has said that they were using an out-of-date index, which was no longer something they thought was valid. But just because they don't think the index that they were using is no longer valid, they still have an obligation under the law to have a county differential. So as you said, and you put it way more succinct than I did, is that we're just asking that the plan follow the law and that DSS provide you a plan that follows the law.
Thank you, Chris. That's my second question, so I'll pause now. But thank you, Chris. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Do you have another question, sir? That you are the only one asking a question now.
I guess that it would be the county differential when you mention that. What areas, like say, is it, who gets the more if you have, what's the reasoning for? Is it the gas prices in those areas? What sets that differential?
Yeah, so what the former LIHEAP plans referenced, right, in the language of the plan that previous plans that have been adopted, it said that it was reflective of the cost of operations in different areas. And as I said before, a driver in Fairfield County might make $35 an hour, where one in Tolland County makes $22 an hour. There's tremendous differences in what it takes to run a company depending on where it's located. And even our larger companies that operate separate offices throughout the state show that those differences do occur. The price of diesel is pretty much going to be the same from county to county, but labor probably is one of the bigger drivers in that calculation.
Labor, and I believe also probably trucking insurance, depending on congestion. But yeah, thank you, Chris. Appreciate that. Thank you again, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Are there any other comments or questions? Chris, I may be giving you a call. Talk a little bit more about some of this.
We're always available to you and the rest of the committees.
Thank you. Representative Case.
Thank you, Madam Chair. A quick question. I didn't know, I should know this answer, but when is the cutoff time, Chris? Do you know that a vendor has to sign up to be committed to supply?
So to participate in the program, I don't know the exact date. I know that they typically will take vendors at any time. So if you decided to get in after the program started, now customers would have already have chosen their vendors, but I don't believe in the past I've ever heard of a vendor being told that they can't participate after a certain date. But DSS probably could answer that better than I.
Okay, I think you and I are probably getting some of the same calls that some vendors are concerned this year, and I think we need to figure out how many we have and what we're going to do. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, you're all set, Chris. Thank you for your valuable information.
Have a good day.
All right. It's our last person up today, and so we're going to start at 1:30 as we transition from this public hearing. We're going to close the public hearing. The public hearing is now closed. At 1:30, we are going to start the committee meeting. Votes cannot be left open. Votes cannot be left open. Please let everybody know that we are going into a committee meeting. We will start with energy and technology, then go to human services, and then go to appropriations. Appropriations will convene the meeting, and then it goes to energy and technology, then it goes to human services, and then it goes to appropriations. As each committee meets, once they vote, and that vote is tallied, we can't add anybody else to that vote. So please text all your colleagues and let them know that we are getting to the voting. And once we get to voting, we cannot hold votes open. All right, 1:30. I gotta stand up.
Hello? 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 Are we voting?
Not yet, Rep.
We're coming.
Accarino. 1:30.
1:30.
Go after him.
Good afternoon, everybody. If you could all take your seats, we're going to call the committee meeting for the LIHEAP allocation plan for federal fiscal year 2027. And I'm going to turn it over to the Energy and Technology Committee. Again, I implore you to please text your colleagues that don't know that we are meeting today so that they know and they can vote. So, Senator Needleman, are you running the meeting?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, I'd like to convene the Energy and Technology Committee meeting. Can I get a motion to approve the fiscal year 27 low-income home energy assistance program allocation plan?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay. Motion's been made, motion seconded. Can I ask the committee clerk to call the roll and then announce the tally?
This is a roll call vote. Senator Needleman,
Yes.
Representative Steinberg,
Yes. Representative Steinberg votes yes.
Senator Fazio, Representative Mara, Representative Sanchez,
Representative Sanchez votes yes.
Senator Maroney,
Senator Maroney votes yes.
Senator Cabrera, Representative D'Amico, Representative Gresco,
Yes.
Representative Horn, Senator Marr,
Senator Marr votes yes.
Senator McCrory, Representative Mushinsky, Representative Piscopo,
Representative Piscopo votes yes.
Representative Yacarino.
Representative Yacarino votes yes. Thank you.
Okay. Representative Bushbaum,
Representative Buxbaum votes yes.
Representative Constantine, Representative Buckby,
Representative Buckby votes yes.
Representative Foster, Representative Jensen,
Representative Jensen votes yes.
Representative Canino, Representative Winter,
Representative Winter votes yes.
Representative Gauthier,
Representative Gauthier votes yes.
Representative Hughes,
Representative Hughes votes yes.
Representative Ali Brennan, Representative Baumgardner,
Rep. Baumgardner votes yes.
Representative Horn,
Sorry, Mr. Clerk, can you announce the tally?
my apologies. That is 16 yay, 0 nay.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. I'd like to recess our meeting.
Sir, Mr. Clerk, Mr. Chairman.
You have somebody that's come on before the,
Oh, did we get somebody on who wasn't on? They can vote? Who did we miss?
Senator Fazio is online right now.
Senator Fazio, would you like to vote on this? Fazio? I see you, but I can't hear you.
Fazio votes yes.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you.
I also received an email from Representative Foster that said she's on the call. I don't know if she is or not.
Yeah. Caller.
Okay, Representative Foster. Okay.
Rep. Constantine is also on the Zoom.
Can you go through those that you didn't call?
Okay.
That didn't answer your call.
I'll go through them one more time. The ones that didn't vote the first time around. Representative Mara. Senator Cabrera. Representative D'Amico. Senator McCrory. Representative Mushinsky. Representative Constantine.
Rep. Constantine votes yes.
Representative Foster. Representative Canino. And Representative Ali Brennan.
Okay, Mr. Clerk, can we have the tally again?
That is 18 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. I'd like to recess.
How many absent not voting?
How many not voting?
How many absent not voting, please?
Thank you.
And that is 8 not voting.
Absent not voting.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. I'd like to recess the meeting.
Good afternoon. I'd like to call to order the August 12th, 2026 meeting of the Human Services Committee. At this point, I'll entertain a motion to approve the FFY 27 Low-Income Home Energy Assistance Program Allocation Plan. Is there a motion from a member of the Human Services Committee?
So moved. Rep. Hughes.
Motion by Representative Comey, seconded by Representative Hughes. Is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion, the clerk will please call the roll.
Representative Gilchrist.
Representative Gilchrist votes yes.
Senator Lesser.
Senator Lesser votes yes.
Representative Case.
Representative Case votes yes.
Senator Perillo. Senator Perillo? You are muted.
Perillo votes yes.
Someone needs to fix his name.
I am not Senator Fazio today, no.
Thank you. Very good.
Representative Comey. Comey.
Yes.
Senator Marr.
Senator Marr votes yes.
Senator Anwar.
Senator Anwar votes yes. Senator Anwar votes yes.
Thank you. Representative Butler.
Representative Butler votes yes.
Representative Dathan.
And then, I just.
Representative Dathan votes yes.
Representative D'Amico. Representative Fortier.
Representative Fortier votes yes.
Senator Gaston.
Senator Gaston votes yes.
Representative Hughes.
Representative Hughes votes yes.
Representative Johnson.
Representative Johnson votes yes.
Representative Kitt. Oh, I didn't say it. Representative Johnson, I'm sorry, you were off camera.
Representative Johnson votes yes.
I have you now, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Representative Kitt. You are muted, Representative. Representative Master Francesco.
Representative Kitt votes yes. My apologies.
Received, thank you. Representative Master Francesco.
Master Francesco is having some computer difficulties getting into the meeting.
Representative Master Francesco. All right. Representative Meskers. Representative Pizzuto.
Representative Pizzuto votes yes.
Representative Santiago.
Santiago votes yes.
Representative Scott.
Representative Scott votes yes.
Representative Shake.
Representative Shake votes yes.
Representative Stewart.
Representative Stewart votes yes.
Representative Vale.
Representative Vale votes yes.
Are there any online who still need to vote for the Human Services Committee? Representative Master Francesco, are you present?
Okay. You want to call out folks who you see on?
The only one I see is Representative Master Francesco.
Yes, Representative Master Francesco votes yes.
Received. Thank you.
Thank you.
If that's everyone that we have, the clerk will please announce the tally.
That is 21 yay, 2 absent, 0 nay.
Motion passes. At this point, we will recess the Human Services Committee.
And the Appropriations Committee will convene the meeting. I'll entertain a motion to approve the FFY 27 Low Income Home Energy Assistance Program Allocation Plan. Is there such a motion?
So moved, Representative Dathan.
Representative Walker. Representative Nolan seconds it. Is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion, Madam Administrator, could you call the roll?
Senator Austin.
Senator Austin votes in the affirmative.
Representative Walker. Yes. Senator Hartley. Senator Kushner.
Senator Kushner votes yes.
Time for me, please.
Senator Kushner votes yes.
Thank you. Representative Exum.
Representative Exum votes yes. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you. Representative Paris.
Paris votes yes. Paris votes yes.
Summers.
Senator Summers votes yes.
Representative Nuccio.
Hey, Taylor, you got me?
I gotcha. How would you like to vote?
Yes, please.
You got it. Thank you. Representative Ackert.
Representative Ackert votes yes.
Senator Anwar.
Senator Anwar votes yes. And I think Senator Hartley has been unmuted, but you didn't hear her for some reason.
Senator Hartley, how would you like to vote?
In the affirmative. Senator Hartley in the affirmative.
I need one more time.
Senator Hartley affirmative.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Representative Baker.
Representative Baker votes yes. Representative Baker votes yes.
Thank you. Representative Belton.
Rep. Belton votes yes.
Senator
Berthel. Good afternoon, Madam Administrator. Happy summer. Senator Berthel votes yes.
Thank you very much. Representative Belinsky.
Representative Belinsky votes yay.
Representative Brown. Representative Candelaria.
Representative Candelaria votes yes.
Representative Dathan.
Representative Dathan votes yes.
I see you, so I'll say it one more time.
Representative Dathan votes in the affirmative.
Thank you, Representative Dathan.
Do you get me? Thank you.
Representative Corpus?
Corpus votes yes.
Thank you. Representative DiCaprio?
Yes.
Representative DeFranco?
Franz votes yes.
Representative Delaney?
Representative Delaney votes yes.
Representative Dillon?
Representative Dillon votes yes.
Representative Felipe?
Representative Felipe votes yes.
Senator Flexer?
Senator Flexer votes yes.
Representative Fonsello?
Fonsello votes yes.
Representative Gajewski?
Gajewski votes yes.
Representative Garibay?
Garibay votes yes.
Representative Gibson?
Representative Gibson votes yes.
Representative Gilchrist?
Representative Gilchrist votes yes.
Representative Gonzalez? Representative Gonzalez? Senator Gordon?
Senator Gordon votes yes.
Representative Haddad?
Representative Haddad votes yes.
Senator Harding?
Harding votes yes.
Representative Hoxa? Representative Johnson?
Representative Johnson votes yes.
Representative Gonzalez votes yes.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
Representative Cavros DeGraw?
Davros DeGraw votes yes.
Representative Kennedy?
Kennedy votes yes.
Representative Khan?
Representative Khan votes yes.
Representative Leeper?
Representative Leeper votes yes.
Senator Lesser?
Senator Lesser votes yes.
Representative Martinez? Senator Marks?
Marks votes yes.
Representative McCarthy Vahey?
McCarthy Vahey votes yes.
Senator McCrory? Representative Nolan? Representative Pavlak Tomato?
Pavlak Tomato votes yes.
Representative Reyes? Representative Rosario?
Representative Rosario in the affirmative.
Representative Manny Sanchez?
Representative Manny Sanchez votes yes.
Representative James Sanchez?
Representative James Sanchez votes yes.
Representative Sims?
Representative Sims in the affirmative.
Senator Slapp?
Senator Schlapp votes yes.
Senator Winfield?
Senator Winfield in the affirmative.
All right. Are there any other members of the Appropriations Committee on that have yet to cast their vote?
Madam Administrator, could you just go through the absent not voting one more time, please?
Absolutely. Representative Brown? Representative Hoxa? Representative Martinez? Senator McCrory? Representative Reyes?
Thank you for that. Could you announce the tally, please?
Total voting 48, those voting yay 48, those voting nay 0, those abstaining 0, total absent and not voting 5.
Motion passes. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Representative Walker first it, Representative Nolan seconds it without discussion. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. The motion.
Aye.
Appropriations Committee is adjourned, and I now pass it over to Energy and Technology.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I make a I'd like, entertain a motion to adjourn our meeting.
You have to pull it back.
So moved.
Recess. You have to
Second.
pull it being recessed.
Oh,
Oh, you did?
moving out of recess and adjourning. All in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
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 And now I'd like to call back to order the Human Services Committee, and I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the Human Services Committee. Motion by Representative Comey. Is there a second? Second by myself. All right. All in
Second.
favor of adjourning? And we're adjourned.
So, Madam Administrator, if you could please let us know what our next order of business is coming up.
Gladly. We are shortly in receipt of the Health and Human Services Black Grant allocation plans that we'll be hearing with both the Human Services Committee and the Public Health Committee. We are set to have that hearing and subsequent committee meetings August 27th at 11 a.m. Same place, same time.
And all of those that are interested in joining myself and a number of the nonpartisan staff in jumping out of an airplane, tandem skydiving, to support veterans and rappelling down the Mohegan Sun to support Special Olympics. Please let us know if you want to both either join us or support us. Thank you. Have a nice day. Enjoy summer.